Have you ever replayed the final conversation you had with your ex? Replaying the story again and again and asking yourself whether you could have changed things. Because this breakup, as it is, seems final. That's how it feels like. But the psychology tells another story. Because reconciliation is possible. It's not out of luck. It's in a way a form of science that you can learn from. So if right now you're watching this video and you're wondering whether you can get back with your ex, follow this video and I'll explain you the psychology of reconciliation. What works and what doesn't work if you want to repair a relationship and if you want to maximize your chances of getting back with your ex. So the first element is to understand is that if you want to reconcile with your partner, it's really about emotional safety. It's not about pressure. It's not even about feelings. People return to the relationship when they feel emotionally safe, when they feel if we start again, I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to feel misunderstood, judged, etc., etc. What you have to understand is that when you put pressure on your ex, you will accelerate the process of them moving on, trying another relationship, dismissing you. So the point is to, in the process, if you want to get back with your ex, is to reduce their emotional defenses. That's the only thing that you have to do. Not because it's the best, it's the only thing, right? It's really about emotional safety. So when you start the process, when you try to reconcile, don't focus too much on the outcome, because if you focus too much on the outcome, you're gonna pressure them. Focus on the process, focus on the journey. And yes, it's frustrating because you want a certain outcome, you want a certain conversation, but the point is to get to that point and making sure that through those stages, you ensure your partner, your ex, feels safe emotionally. Understand, and we'll discuss about trust in a second. It's about building that emotional trust, repairing the emotional bond, which takes a little bit of time. You can't regain trust in a week, in one day. You need consistency. You need actions as well. And again, I'm going to explain this in the next 2 slides. If you're not familiar about attachment, that's also something very important that describes the dynamic of most breakups. You have 2 major insecure attachments: avoidant attachment style, anxious attachment style. Anxious attachment after a breakup will have a tendency to chase their partner because they have a deep fear of abandonment. So when they break up with their partner, when their partner breaks up with them, they will have a tendency to try to reconcile as quickly as possible because they're going to have a hard time self-regulate. For avoidant, they will actually push or pull their partner away because for them, being at a distance is their safe space. So it's very important. First of all, if you want to repair the relationship, understand your ex attachment behavior, also your own attachment. As I said, avoidant, they need space before reconnecting. Anxious, they need reassurance. So if your partner, if your ex is anxious, it's a different strategy, totally different strategy than if your ex has an avoidant attachment style. Now, if you have, for instance, an insecure attachment style, whether it's anxious or avoidant, it's not the end of the world. We're not bound by our attachment style. I used to be dismissive avoidant and I worked on myself. Now I have a secure attachment style. The point of the process, if you want to get back with your ex, is also to work on yourself at developing a secure attachment style. I call that creating a secure base. I actually wrote a book on this. The idea is to be the role model of the relationship. If you have insecurities, address those insecurities, present yourself from a place of strength and safety. Again, we're back to the safety element. And then once you expose your partner to this secure base, they will respond and actually start to realize that this relationship can make them happy, right? Can meet their needs. It's also a way for you to assess whether this relationship is good for you or not. Because in the process of building that secure base, a few people realize that actually they shouldn't get back with this person and that they deserve more, or they deserve another dynamic at this point in their life. So the point of this awareness around attachment style is to help you change your perspective, because the problem, like anything in life, we tend to act we tend to take action based on what we would have liked or how we interpret the situation. If your ex is avoidant and you're anxious, you will see things fundamentally differently. So if you continue to act out of your insecurities, seeking reassurance, being clingy, asking for emotional closeness, there's going to be a disconnect with your avoidant partner who's more interested in distance, self-regulation, etc., etc. So it's important to understand, not that you're not made to be together, because in a way a lot of anxious end up with avoidant and vice versa, because you complement each other, but understanding their language, because if you don't speak their language, they will feel, I can't meet your needs, I can't make you happy, we're better off. And you end up with this, I love you, but I'm not in love with you type of response, because that person feels, I can't give you what they want. It's too hard, we don't understand each other, we have communication problem. I often say, it's not a communication problem, it's an understanding problem. So start by understanding yourself, understanding your limitations, your insecurities, work on those. Just by doing that, you will change the dynamic of the relationship. Have a look in the description. I put together a quiz and an assessment for you to figure out what to do next. Also, you'll get a free chapter of my book once you do the quiz. Another very important element that people usually don't understand, because very often people ask me questions about what should I send, what should I do with regard to the ex. The first, and I think probably with attachment awareness, this will make a lot of difference, is the self-regulation. Especially when you have an anxious attachment style, you need to understand that your emotions, your emotional state will influence your actions and therefore the way your ex sees you. If you are not, let's put it this way, if you are not self-regulating and you're trying to get back with your ex, you're going to reinforce the negative image they have of the relationship. If you want to be attractive, because it's also about attraction, that starts with emotional stability. That starts from a place of strength. So you need to aim for self-control, which will communicate to your ex your strength and your readiness. One thing you need to remember, regulate first, reach out second. Most people would try to reach out, and because they're not ready, because their partner is not ready, they won't be able to regulate and they will create a vicious circle and make things worse and worse. So that's very important to regulate first and reach out second. After having helped hundreds of people getting back together, I can tell you reconnection often and always begins indirectly. So few signs is they are reaching out through friends, interacting on social media. It's this image of testing the water before they dive in. One thing you have to be aware of is politeness, being nice, is not a sign of interest. So people often tell me, I'm not blocked, so it's a good sign. And they will use the extreme cases, right, to assess the interest. Yes, if you're not blocked, that's better than if you were blocked. But that's not a sign that you're going to get back together 100%. And again, if you're not sure, have a look in the description if you want to take the assessment. The point here is to be aware that it's a process that will take a few weeks and that you need to be patient. And at the same time, being realistic, because right now you're watching this video, you're working on yourself probably, you're trying to repair, you're active in the process. You need also to assess whether this person is active in the process. I just had a call with someone who was telling me, I'm ready to take 100 steps towards him, but I also expect him to take at least 1 or 2 steps towards me. And I think that's the right mindset. Do your work, but be realistic, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be in a one-sided relationship. So understand that, as I said, it's going to take a bit of time. You have to be patient. You have to find ways to regulate your emotion through the process, because it's painful, but be aware that, especially if you have an anxious attachment style, not ending up in a dynamic where you satisfy yourself with breadcrumbs that your partner is giving you at this stage. So I said before about the pressure, and I think it's the same when it comes to the dynamic and the communication. The point is about connection. You had something special. You have a history that nobody can take away from you. This is what you need to leverage. It's not about convincing. It's not about proving your point. It's not about sharing your journey. The point is also understand that it's not about logic, right? Sometimes people tell me, oh yeah, but it makes sense. I have the plan. No, again, it's emotional decision, usually breakup. And it's emotionally that you're going to be able to get back together. So by that, it's about doing things together, experiencing things together. So it could be laughter, but it's way more powerful than having the conversation. Very often people idealize this. I need to have this conversation. But that comes from your point of view. What you're trying to repair is the bond. The bond has nothing to do with that conversation that will help you to heal. No, that's not how it works. Do things together, share intimacy together. That will help them actually slowly and surely be in that stage of reconciliation with you. When you are in touch with them, my advice is usually to be the listener more than the speaker. I know you have plenty of things to tell them, but usually you learn way more by listening to what they have to say. And so the work that you have to do is to use active listening, is to validate their emotions, is not to try to fix things, not to try to judge them. A lot of people tell me like, yeah, should I send my ex that they're avoidant, or should I send them this book? In principle, it's fine, but not at the beginning. It's fine when you're almost back together, when they are sort of buying in this idea of let's grow together. Relationships, it's usually four stages. The first one is honeymoon. The second one is around the shift between passion to compassionate stage. Third one is about confrontation. The fourth one is about growth. And it's probably the one that you want to develop and achieve with your partner at this stage. They assume, or maybe you assume, that it's not going to work out and you will be better off on your own, having your own path. Meaning, I need to grow on my own. There's usually a way for you to reconcile, for you to develop as part of the relationship. So these kind of conversations are very important, are essential, but they need to come after, not at the beginning. So this element of growth starts with you, with your personal growth. By creating that secure base, you inspire your partner to do the same, and then you can work out at being a power couple and grow together. So obviously it's about actions, it's not about words. And this is true as well if you want to assess their readiness, their investment in the relationship. So if they are telling you, I've changed, that's not enough. Don't take it as face value. What you need to assess is actions. This is how you can rebuild trust. This is how they should rebuild trust. Sometimes I tell my clients, okay, at this stage, you shouldn't get back with them. This relationship is over. They need to prove you that I'm wrong. Sometimes it's easier to look at things this way. And so when you're in that situation, this is where you have to assess the actions and assess them over a period of time. Not just like, oh yeah, he offered me flower, or he showed up, or we had that discussion. You need more than just one occurrence. You need different touch points. That's why it's a process, and that's why it takes a bit of time to really be able to gather data along the way. You can only believe in change if it's stable. So be aware of the big gestures. That's why I would never advise you to go and buy an expensive gift, show up at their workplace to surprise them, or things like that. This is not stable. This is very risky, and you'll probably not get the response that you hope for. I would prefer going steady, not because that's what works. It's not because I want, it's just because that's what works. Almost like boring things, very small dates, doing things together, not reinventing the world, not reinventing the relationship, but every time you see them, you increase the level of intimacy. Every time you see them, you know they want to see you back. They not necessarily want to get back with you, but you need to leave any conversation, anytime you see them, you need them to feel like, I want to finish this conversation. I want to go on another date with him or her. This is the thing this is the dynamic you need to develop and put in place with your ex. It's very important. And that's why It's not so much about showing them, it's not so much about telling them, but more showing them and doing things together. A very important element you need to take into account is uncertainty. When you try to reconcile a relationship, obviously you have two parts of the equation. And nobody, maybe people would, but I would never tell you, if you do this and that, if you follow this roadmap, if you take this test, I can guarantee 100% you're going to get back with your ex. That doesn't work like this. I wish it would work like this. And actually, if you know someone who can do that, let me know, because I'd be interested to know how they do it. Because you can't control everything your ex is thinking, doing. We can't change necessarily their belief system. What you can do is control your own path and follow your own path. Accept that there's a lot of uncertainty. Don't be stuck on the outcome. Don't cling on pressuring them for an outcome. I want you to visualize yourself in 3-4 months' time. Having done the work in the sense of learning about your attachment, learning about your insecurities, having healed from past traumas, for example, being clear around your boundaries, being honest with yourself about what you want, what you don't want. After you do this process, regardless of the outcome, you'll be at peace. That's what I do with my clients. Yes, sometimes most of the times they get back with the ex, but that's not the point of healing. That's not the point of developing, for instance, a secure attachment style. The point is to design the right condition for the right relationship. And if your ex is not willing to give you that relationship, he or she is not partner material. And maybe right now you are at the beginning of this process. So I invite you to start this process of self-reflection, of personal growth. And by doing that, you'll see, organically, you'll be able to progress things with your ex. Maybe reconcile, maybe have an amicable breakup. But if you do that work, you'll be in line with who you are. And in a way, you will outgrow the breakup. This is the only thing I can wish you to achieve. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. And I'll see you next time. Take care.